It's the last day in the month of November. The deadline for the Nigerian military to rout out Boko Haram from the country starts from tomorrow, December 1st. And a whole lot has been happening. Don't forget, there's also the report about an impending attack on the city of Abuja. And the Chibok girls, still very much in focus, still trending at this moment, even though, well, they're almost hitting the 600 days mark. Joining us to look at all of the spot of issues, security matters this morning is retired Captain Umar Blade Aliyu. Good morning and thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Good morning.
A whole lot happening. First, let's look at the December deadline and look at so many other gains we have seen from the Nigerian military leading up to this particular moment. Some are still asking the big question, is that feasible, knowing that we are almost in December in some few hours from now?
Well, it depends on how you look at it, but generally on bombings, suicide bombings, it's not feasible. On the issue of territorial, attacks on villages, taking enclaves, claiming part of our nation's soils, it's feasible. I say that because if you looked back from the point when the PMB administration came in, there was some kind of improvement. There was a reclamation of our territories. In fact, if you looked at the nature of what we have on ground, you see that we actually have an asymmetric situation. An asymmetric situation is where you have conventional forces fighting unconventional forces, so there's no symmetry per se. And the conventional forces have actually engaged these insurgents with what we call attrition warfare. Attrition warfare is a sustained depletion of the ranks, personnel and material of the belligerent over a period of time. So if you look at the indices on ground as they concern recovering of our land spaces, if you look at the kill ratio involved, you'll be able to say that the churn rate or the attrition rate, if we could put it that way, if you calculate it, is favorable to us. Doing the attrition rate is simply putting your figures and indices together and doing some divisions. The average number of probably Boko Haram attacks, their armies come in like 500s strength. They sack military barracks, they sack towns. And if you compare that to what you have been able to do and the number you have been able to probably kill within that period, you begin to see a figurative, explanation of what has been happening. So we've seen some improvement in that line. But when it comes to suicide bombings, that in itself is another aspect.
Okay, we'll come back to that other aspect. We'll keep it aside for now. But if you look at the relative success and looking at so many other indices you've just highlighted, I wanted us to also look at that particular list, which finally came out from the Nigerian military. 100 wanted individuals in that particular list. And so far, they've been able to get about 5 of them. That's another indication that perhaps they have been working. And if you were to act based on that particular list, because they won't be needing the assistance of a whole lot of Nigerians in getting some of those people, what would you be saying based on that?
If in 100 we have taken or gotten 5, I don't think that is encouraging, though it's a step in the right direction. But I want to believe that if in 100 of like-minded people who are into a particular line of activity, I have 5, depending on the method, the skill sets, and what you know, each of those 5 can actually give you where 5 are. The chances are high. So we should be seeing the number escalate exponentially. Understand? So I don't know, the intelligence organizations the intelligence agencies can actually work in those 5. There are many ways you can do that if you do have the know-how and the resources.
Thank God you used the word intelligence agencies. The deadline of December, we're almost there, if not already there.
But we're counting down.
We're counting, okay, we're counting down.
Yes.
There's been that concern in some quarters that it's not possible. And then some others are saying it's possible. But that worry is still there because there's still spits of bombings here and there. As you said, when it comes to bombing, it can't end. But the ones of reclaiming our territory. The question now is this the way to go?
No, it's not the way to go. I'll tell you why. Terrorism has been with us, or mankind, particularly suicide bombings, for like 60 years. So we really need maybe Martians to end it in our own nation space by 31st December. Okay? If you're talking about reclaiming our territory and taking our enclaves where they have hosted those black flags back, it's an operation that can be closed by midnight of 31st December. Less time has been used to do similar things in other climes. Let me give you an example of what I'm saying. From, I think, September, when the deadline was issued, effectively to December, we're looking at 3 months, 90 days. If you were to actually split Maiduguri into equal squares, you draw grid lines over Maiduguri. I'm talking of the entire Maiduguri. Then you isolated the areas that needed.
Maiduguri being the state capital,
yes.
not the whole state.
Borno State.
Okay.
If you put Borno State on a map and drew equal squares across Borno State, then you isolated the areas that were probably affected, the red, the hot zones, the hot spots, and you drew squares across them. I'm telling you that we have the resources and the capacity to isolate this place as per grids and squares and sweep right through them. But then, post sweeping through them, you must hold them. So if we actually take every spot, every enclave, we clear every dugout where they hide and have their bases, and we do not occupy it, they're going to eventually fill it back again post that period.
Which is the concern here, because with all the gains that have been made, who is holding on to those grounds? That's
Good.
on the other side. The other side also is the mindset of the people that have gone through this. And those that have been brainwashed to carry out some activities, and now, we heard one time, they're surrendering in their droves.
Yes.
In other words, there's a little bit of tricking in maybe in the brain work. So what's being done to ensure that those ones do not flip back?
Relapse. They don't regress back into... Yes. What we need to do is, there needs to first and foremost be a very, very concerted military presence along those areas, that is our borders. Particularly, I am looking at turning Sambisa probably into the Nigerian Army's first desert warfare school. That place is actually a place where we've had our eyes turned red. Our military has had it tough there. So it's become a school. And if we want to exploit the setbacks we suffered there, then we can turn that place probably to our desert warfare school. The mobile police has something like that in Goza. When you go to Goza, you actually go there and train and get attuned to extreme of temperatures. And if you pass through Goza and all the scorpions there, you are ready to do mobile police work. Goza has very generous, populace of scorpions, so you hardly pass through Goza.